Good morning. Welcome to week 3, distance learning. I think at the end of this week we have a little bit of a break, which is kind of nice, just so we can settle in. But we're going to continue with sketching techniques. Today is one of those days where you actually get to practice a little bit of what I'm talking about. What I'd like you to do today before you get started is I would like you to open up the copy of the sketching techniques document here. Just open up that copy. Everybody's going to copy for themselves. You're going to actually type into that document. This actually isn't due for my A-Day kids. It's not due to the end of the day on Wednesday. And for my B-Day kids, because I'm assigning it on Tuesday and we don't have school Thursday, it's going to be due on Tuesday for B-Day kids. So you just need to open that up and you're going to type your answers in here. We're only going to do half of the sketching techniques worksheet during today's lesson. I know when we're actually in class together, I only get through about half of it in a class period. So, and then the other thing I want you to have, you're going to have that document open. You don't have to print it out unless you want to print it out. You can print it out if you prefer working on paper. That's fine with me. And if you want to turn in a scan of that on Wednesday or on next Tuesday, that's fine. The other thing you need to have is graph paper of any sort. So if you don't have graph paper at home, it can be in a notebook. It could be elsewhere, but it could be on a notepad. You can also print out the 1/4-inch graph paper. The 1/4-inch graph paper just gives you an opportunity to practice doing any of the sketching techniques that I do in the lesson. So you have that. So why don't you pause the video right now, get those two things. So open up that digital document and get your graph paper, and then you can come on back. So I'm going to pause for a second. You can click pause. Okay, so now you've got your items. I've got a copy of the sheet as well, so I can follow along with that. But what you're going to be doing is watching me do a slideshow the way I would do in class. Okay, so the slideshow is called Sketching Technique. So why is sketching important? Now, I don't know if you've ever heard the expression before, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but sometimes it's much easier to convey an engineering concept or idea or an invention or an innovation that you have by just drawing something down on paper to show to somebody. And the better our sketching techniques are, and the more standardized they are across engineering disciplines, the easier it is to communicate. And it doesn't mean you need to be an excellent artist. I'm not expecting, I'm not going to whip out a rubric and start evaluating the artistic qualities of your drawings. I'm just going to be teaching you specific engineering sketching techniques that we're going to practice in my class. And a lot of those techniques are really technical. So it's always a good idea to have a ruler laying around. But today we're going to be practicing some techniques that might help us draw a straight line when there is no ruler around. Drawing a really good circle when there is nothing to trace or there's no circular compass or anything like that. Learning how to draw can sometimes be the easiest way to communicate an idea instead of saying, the thing with the guy and the place and using imprecise language or even precise language. You can just draw something. I know I've had conversations with people at restaurants and things like that, and sometimes I'll use like a napkin or something, and communicate that way. I'll use a pen or something. Once I even drew on a menu. I was at Little Pub with one of my kids, and I drew on a menu with one of the crayons that they had. We were talking about a robotics technique. It's much easier to talk about in a drawing than it was, in words. So, what's the purpose of sketching? That's a question on your sketching techniques question or your sheet. So you might want to you can pause here and answer the question. And what's the purpose of sketching is really to communicate. I'm going to go to the next slide here. So common uses of sketching. is in brainstorming, using it to communicate and document your ideas. So a lot of patents and things like that have been proved to, like, who came up with the idea first is because it was in this person's engineering notebook first. So it's a way to document your design process and document that it was your idea and document that you took steps to make it become a reality. Okay. Some advantages of hand sketching is it's really inexpensive. We know how to use 3D modeling software, but a lot of people don't have 3D modeling software, or you just, when you're out at a restaurant or you're just having a conversation with somebody about a design idea, you don't necessarily want to have to whip a PC with a really expensive or even a free version of a 3D modeling software and say, wait 3 hours until I come up with a model for you. So you can just start drawing on paper these design ideas. And these examples here are just thumbnails. They're like the quick and dirty drawings that just kind of get the general idea across. You can tell that the people did these sketches were actually decently skilled. They added some shading and things like that. I'm not going to actually teach shading in this class, but we do, these are all like what's called a front view. So it's the longest dimension on the most detail, and then the most natural position. You wouldn't put the Starbucks cup on its side. And you can see here there's an initial and a date by each one of those drawings, which you should always do. Okay, it's convenient, it's inexpensive. Okay, that looks like it's a top or front view. I'm not really sure. It would be really helpful if there's some dimensions or labels on that so we knew what it was. Okay, one of the things, so that we just got through number 1, 2, and 3 on the worksheet that you just did. So you might want to stop there and do 1, 2, and 3 on your sheet, whether it's on paper or a digital version. I gave everybody a digital version, so it might just be easier if you type your answers there. Okay, so for the next part, what you're going to do is this is number 4 on the sheet, and it says, please do this portion of the sheet on your graph paper that you have in front of you. So the remainder of today's lesson, you're just going to be doing on that graph paper in front of you. And you're going to be practicing sketching some of the lines and circles that I show you using the steps provided here. It doesn't mean that this is the way you have to do it. It just, I'm just showing you some techniques that some technical drafts people can use in order to make their sketches a little bit better, especially if they're doing them freehand without a ruler. Okay, so for lines, okay, so it's a really good idea. I want you to actually draw these on your graph paper, and I want you to label them. So you've got a date, you've got today's sketching techniques, that's the name of the topic. You've got a line. So the way that we made these lines is we did one dot at the bottom. Right here, we did one dot at the bottom. I could do a pointer here. We did one dot at the bottom here, and then we did the dot at the top. And then we just connected those two nice and quick, okay, without wiggling too much off that line. Now, it's really easy. You've got graph paper, so you've got vertical lines, but what if you were drawing on a piece of plain paper, a napkin or something? So you draw a dot at the starting point, the end point, and then what I like to do is you stare up there, keep your pencil tip here, and you stare up at the top, and then while you're staring at the top, don't look at your pencil tip, and just draw the line to meet that end dot. Okay, why don't you try that again? We're going to try another vertical line. Just do one dot, put the finish line dot right up here, and then without looking at your pencil tip, you're going to look at that finished dot, okay? And then you're just going to draw your pencil tip up without actually looking at the pencil tip. You're just going to look at where you want it to end up and see how that works. And just see if that worked better for you. If it didn't work better for you, then that's fine. But some people find that that technique works a lot better. It works better for me. So if I want to draw a straight line without a ruler, sometimes I indicate to myself on the paper with a dot with my finish line, and then I just draw a nice quick line, like really quick, and then it ends up straighter than if I try to do a wiggly kind of like, Okay. It just works better for me. I don't know if it's going to work better for you. Try it, that same technique with the horizontal line, and you're going to label it horizontal line. Okay, just to remember, vertical versus horizontal. Horizontal lines up with the horizon. Think of watching a sunset and the horizon's like stretched out on the x-axis in front of you, and vertical is that up and down. So you're going to try that same technique here. Draw a dot at the beginning, draw at the end, and see what happens when you don't look at your pencil tip. Just look at that end dot over here. You're going to look at the dot on the right-hand side, and you're just going to go and see how straight you can get that freehand. And try it one more time below there. Starting dot, finishing dot, and then I draw a nice start line. Okay. All right, so then we're going to try an inclined line here. So we can talk about rise over run, just the way we do in mathematics. Over here, it went along the slope here is 1/2 actually. So for every 4 you go over, you go up 2. So you can start by drawing that inclined line. I mean, you could use a ruler, but if you don't have a ruler, you draw the finish point and the end point, and then just connect the two nice and quick. Try that one more time. Do an inclined line, maybe a little bit steeper or a little bit shallower. Okay. Start to finish. See what kind of technique helps you make a straight line. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, so there's those 3 techniques. We draw that line. There's another technique, and then you did a dotted line, and then we just kind of fill that in. That's another way to do it. That can help us make a straighter line. So try using the dotted line technique to do a horizontal line. Steps 1, 2, and 3. You don't have to draw steps 1, 2, and 3. Steps 1, 2, and 3 is a process, so it's just going to look like step 3 when you're finished. You can draw that. Now, here's another step for drawing a circle. Make sure you've got enough room on your graph paper to do the circle. So you're going to set up the diameter. We're going to draw a circle with a diameter of 4. The diameter is going to be 4. So we're going to set up the diameter. We're going to draw a circle with a diameter of 4. So the radius is going to be 2. So you're going to set up your axis for the circle. So draw a little axis there. And from that center mark, from the origin of the circle, you're going to 1, 2, draw a little line, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, so that the distance from here to here is 4. So the diameter is 4 and the radius is 2. Okay. And then on the next step, you're going to square in the diameter. So we're just going to draw this square here. Now, why would we want to draw a square to draw a circle? It can help. Then we're going to sketch the diagonal. So we just sketch the diagonals here, 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 and here. Just give this a try. And then we identify the triangle centers, the upper triangle. So you're going to leave everything blank in the middle here. Can I get drawing tools here now? Okay. You're going to identify the triangle centers there. And then you're going to sketch the arcs. Now the arcs go from this vertex here through the center of the X to the next vertex. Through the center of the X to the next vertex. Through the center of the X to the next vertex. And then there's our circle. And then what we do is we erase basically all those other lines are nice and light, so they're easy to erase. They're construction lines. And you can sort of see those construction lines up there. Doesn't look like a perfect circle. It's not meant to be, but this is just helping you. And I know you might be wondering, like, why go through all that effort if you're just going to draw a circle? Remember, these are supposed to be like not just circles, they're like engineering circles. So we want this, maybe we want a wheel to be of a specific diameter. Okay, and this is going to help us make, if let's say it's got 4 wheels, it's going to help us make in the sketch wheels that look approximately the same size as one another. So these are just some techniques. It's not something you have to do all the time. Just want you to practice. Okay. And then we are finished with today's lesson. That's it for today. We will continue with the alphabet of lines, which is like line types, in the next lesson. Okay. Have a great day. If you have any questions, please drop into my Google Hangout. and you can ask me anything you need, okay? All right.